Hello everyone, hope you're all doing well. Soulbag Greg here, and today we're going to check out a video by the amazing Mac Lore's channel, this time focusing on the Heavy Gear franchise. It's all about the North. If you don't know what Heavy Gear is a really cool uh, mecha tabletop war game series, as well as a RPG series and video game series that came out in Canada back in the 90s from DreamPod 9. I was always a big Battletech fan, always will be a diehard Battletech fan, but I love the visuals of the gears, the mecha for Heavy Gear. Always loved the aesthetics for it and wanted to get more into it. Um, it looks so cool, it feels a little more grounded compared to Battletech. Battletech is you know, their focus is definitely the big stompy robots. And even though it's technically a combined arms universe, in media they tend to be, they tend to be the big show, right? Whereas the gears are a lot more subtle as far as how their usefulness is on the battlefield. They can't stomp tanks because tanks are actually pretty big in this universe. They can jump on tanks, but they're not stomping them like you do in BattleTech video games. Nah, but Gears' usefulness is their versatility. They have other vehicles that are dedicated to doing the job better, but Gears can do all sorts of things. It's basically bigger humans that can do all sorts of stuff. Very versatile, all-terrain type vehicles. They got cool wheelies on their mecha feet, so they can go zoomies. Very cool. Um, and so we're gonna check out the video. I know some history about Heavy Gear, like the universe. I've read about it years ago. It's been a minute, so I don't quite remember everything about it, or at least from what I've read. I do know that basically Earth colonizes uh, Terra Nova, which is the main planet here in this distant star system. That eventually, I think they lose contact or something like that. Like they're severed from the system, and I think they kind of abandon it or something. Like something happens, and the people that are have colonized here basically eventually war for resources because the planet itself is, for the most part, a big desert across the equator. But there's certain areas where the climate's better. There's some places of mountains and snow, and some places of real paradise kind of like conditions. But most of it's like real rough desert. So um, it becomes a war between various factions that join forces in the north and those in the south. So it's literally like a polar war, essentially. And so we're gonna learn about the north today. One that I tend to favor mostly because of the aesthetics of the mechs. They have more like aerodynamic looking mecha suits compared to the south. The south that tend to be more round with a lot of their designs. It kind of reminds me of like Soviet design stuff of like if you compare like an Apache to like a Hind D, the Hind D is much more round in its appearance compared to the Apache. It kind of reminds me of like the aesthetics between the north and the south. So let's check it out, shall we?
Among all the colony worlds of the old Earth Concordat, Terra Nova was its main jewel.
Yeah,
When
that's
Earth
it.
abandoned the world and retreated into itself, the peoples of Terra Nova degenerated into civil war for countless cycles, until finally a modicum of stability re-emerged. But by then, the planet had divided into many different groups, alliances, and ideologies, each with different qualities making them unique. The most popular lines of division on the planet are often between the northern and southern hemispheres,
Yep,
and sometimes the equatorial wasteland city-states.
yep. There's
On
Peace River
today's
right there. I
subject
know
of
them.
coverage, we will be exploring one of said hemispheric divisions, that being the North.
Yeah, look at these suits. They're so cool. Yeah, they're
It
so
is
cool, man.
TN
I love their designs.
1678, 224 cycles since Earth abandoned Terra Nova to fend.
Oh, it says okay. So a cycle is basically one. Uh, a cycle is one Terra Nova year. That's what it's saying in the. That's what it's saying in the background. Let me make sure I can pop in and out at will. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, see, as you can see here, these are the South suits. See, they're much more rounder on like their shoulder pads, their heads, their legs. They have a much more rounder appearance. Probably similar to the idea of like sloping armor, right? Helps deflect shots easier. That's probably the idea behind it. If you're seeing this and you're like, wow, these look really familiar with design, well, that's because the heavy gear is heavily inspired by Votoms. If you like Japan's armored trooper Votoms, yeah, this is very much like this is Canada's version of it. And yeah, Bottoms is pretty cool, but honestly, I kind of like heavy gear aesthetics better.
For itself. One of the groups in the Southern Hemisphere that had arisen after the Exodus, the Southern Republic, had come to power over the other leagues that shared their hemisphere. After a series of forced negotiations and military conquests against its neighbors, the Republic proudly announced the creation of the Allied Southern Territories.
Yeah, and that's the thing with the South is that the South kind of reminds me more of like the Soviet Union. So it's like one force, basically just absorb, like forcibly, or almost forcibly, um, absorbing all these other entities to form their alliance, right? But it's not really a true alliance. It's just one faction exerting control for all these other factions. And I think the North is more of like a patchwork of all these factions working together. It reminds me of like what was it? Like World War I, right? You had the Triple Entente, I think it was called, with uh, Great Britain, France, and what was it? Great Britain, France, and was it Russia? And then you have the Allies, which was the opposing forces, not the Allies of World War II. That's very different. But I believe they were called the Allies in World War One, and they had the Triple Entente of the other side for World War One specifically.
Which, despite its name implying equality among its members, was nothing more than a thinly veiled veneer of control by the Southern Republic over its unfortunate wards. And now, they were eyeing the lands of Northern Terra
They're living
Nova.
through
The
annexation.
three
Yeah.
major leagues of the North, the Western Frontier Protectorate, United Mercantile Federation, and the Northern Lights Confederacy, were locked in a stalemate of what could be best described as low-scale polite warfare. When the Southern Hemisphere united under the grip of the Southern Republic, the
Yeah.
North
See how
took
different.
notice, but
Yeah. See how different that like this is a Southern suit, right? See how round it is. This is the Northern, very, very edgy, right? Flat edges everywhere. Flat surfaces. Looks almost a bit more Gundamish, right? Whereas this looks a little more like a or like a Rick Dom, right? From Gundam.
generally resisted the idea of unifying. But that changed with the Merchant War
All
of
these
TN
these
1686
three
to
different suits just looking on
1688.
being like, you
The
what?
United Mercantile Federation had its eyes set on a very resource-rich area known as the West Ridge Range. The only problem was that the Mekong Dominion wanted this region as well, eventually leading to a military conflict between the two powers. What resulted, though, was an utter disaster for the UMF, as the
Oh.
Dominion was able to bring the full military weight of the Allied Southern Territories upon the Federation.
Mm.
In the face of such overwhelming power, the mercantiles could do nothing but flee or perish.
Damn.
After this defeat, both the NLC and WFP agreed to enter diplomatic talks with the mercantiles. The only thing the three northern leagues hated more than each other was the idea of a southern aggressor that could challenge and potentially subjugate them through military might. So in a very
Yeah.
short amount of time, the former obstacles that prevented the North from unifying had vanished, and a new alliance had been founded, the Confederated Northern City-States. This alliance would endure for over 250 cycles through St. Vincent's War, the War of the Alliance, the destruction of Peace River, and the return of the colonial expeditionary forces during the 1950s. But no mistake should be made. Over the course of these cycles, the three leagues never truly became friends.
Now, of
as
course,
the
this is
idea
the
of having a grudging
1950s of Terra Nova. Their year calendar is very different compared to Earth or Terra's. I'm not sure what they call Earth in this universe. It's probably still Terra. Um, But yeah, obviously they're working on a different calendar time. Gosh, look at these suits. I love these suits. I'm actually working on putting together stuff to run like a third edition heavy gear RPG campaign. I really want to get into the series more, and I have stuff for Heavy Gear Blitz for years. I have yet to put it together. Um, but yeah, this series is just so cool. Gosh, it was so sad that Heavy Gear Arena collapsed like it did. I kickstarted that thing. I was looking so forward to it. And it just died. So disappointed. But I'm glad Heavy Gear 3 is in the works.
Work together to maintain their independence from the South,
Only took
and
them 20
later
years.
Earth still remained the only element that truly kept the alliance together. As a result, many checks and balances were woven into the CNCS's
25 years,
structure
actually.
to prevent the scales of power from tilting too much in the direction of one league's favor. Yet despite this, the Northern Lights Confederacy retained a slight edge when it comes to legislation, due to how the CNCS's government was designed.
Aren't the
Each
Northern
city-state
Lights
within
like
the CNCS sends one
the heavily
representative to
religious
the
one?
Inner Council in the capital city of Valeria, while the leagues themselves can send an additional 4 representatives along with those from the city-states under their control. Then there are also independent representatives from the city-state protectorates in the Badlands, namely Timmins, Wounded Knee, and Red Sands. Due to its number of city-states, the Northern Lights Confederacy has a total of 18 of the 43 votes in council. Its closest opponent in terms of votes, the United Mercantile Federation, holds 15, while the Western Frontier Protectorate has 7 votes, and the 3 independent cities have 1 vote each. Since all legislation is passed by majority vote, this makes the NLC a heavyweight power in the political sense.
Yeah.
Surprisingly though, there is no official name for the representatives who take part in the Inner Council, but they do serve a term of 7 cycles with no term limits. Most representatives are either elected or chosen by their government, but due to them essentially being a mouthpiece for said governments, they are given little regard, and most citizens of the North only recognize the authority of the CNCS Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, and the Grand Marshal of the Northern Guard, the unified military of the CNCS. But despite all these elaborate structures and rules, the 3 leagues did continue to have a history of very low-level conflict through border skirmishes and occasionally more serious fighting over so-called strategic sites in the Badlands.
Yeah.
These divisions are only deepened by the prevailing religion in the Northern Lights Confederacy,
Yeah.
Sorrento Revisionism,
That's
whereas
what's
within
called.
the UMF and the Protectorate, Sorrento Revisionism holds far less influence, power, and importance, but yet still remains a significant presence inside their domains.
Yeah, they're like super religious over there
Revisionism
with
itself
their
was built
revisionism.
by a Sorrento-born prophet who had communed with an unknown divine force during a spiritual journey into the Badlands. There, the divine commanded the prophet to start a new religion.
What does it say here? I'm forced to leave out a lot about revisionism and Sorrento revisionism. The Northern Lights Confederacy sourcebook has everything you want if you're interested in diving further. Yeah, there's a lot of there's a lot to dive in with that topic, and just like all sorts of topics in general in the world of heavy gear. There's so much I need to learn about. Like there's a lot of rich history behind this franchise.
Based on love and acceptance, which he did, eventually founding the Church of Revisionism. But this base form revisionism never truly spread as far as Sorrento revisionism did, which was formed shortly after the prophet's death. This new sect of revisionism was far more fanatical and hostile, believing that it was the duty of their followers to bring harmony into a chaotic world by any means available. These ideas helped spread Sorrento.
What does it say? I cherish peace with all of my heart. I don't care how many men, women, and children I need to kill to get at Peacemaker. Oh, okay. Alrighty then. You tell me this guy wasn't popular at parties? Nah.
Revisionism across the entirety of the North, eventually becoming the official religion of the Northern Lights Confederacy. While strong religious dedication had always been a priority in the NLC, by the early 1900s, similar attitudes were growing in the other leagues. This had caused some resentment with the UMF and WFP governments, who saw these trends as nothing more than the Norlighters trying to extend their power through religious belief. The assassination of second follower Thor Hutchinson in TN 1935 The leader of the Sorrento
Oh, damn.
revisionists have only fed into this new religious outlook and have fueled the hardline religious sentiments of the NLC in the greater north.
You know, I kind of miss this art style from like this is definitely like uh a Western attempt at making anime like in the 90s. Like you've seen those various art styles where they tried and mostly kind of failed on trying to replicate that aesthetic. But this one here that Heavy Gear always did in the 90s for a lot of source books and stuff always just had such a cool unique look on its own that it feels like Heavy Gear, you know. There's some newer artwork and stuff that's come out for the more recent stuff for Heavy Gear, and while it looks nice, it doesn't quite have that same feel. I don't know. I see this, I think of Heavy Gear. Like it's like 1-to-1 for me, you know.
But while the power dynamic is tilted towards the NLC's favor, they are not untouchable, as efforts have been made to slowly move diplomatic leadership away from them
Oh,
and into the hands
guy's
of
got
the
a knife in the
United
back.
Mercantile Federation.
Hey, Naveen, hope you're doing
The
well.
UMF in recent cycles was able to facilitate secret meetings between the CNCS and the Mekong Dominion, with the possibility that the Dominion are looking to fully break away from the Allied Southern Territories and join the North.
Yeah, I got an
And if
RPG tonight, so
true,
I'm doing an
could be
early
a
stream.
critical factor against the AST in any future war. But that's not to say the NLC was content to be complacent with their position as top dog of the Confederation, as NLC diplomats were able to negotiate a deal with the weapons manufacturer Paxton Arms to send weapons to the rebels within the Eastern Sun Emirates,
Paxton
another league in the
Arms.
south.
That name sounds
But
familiar.
whether the NLC will retain its position of leadership within the CNCS
Were they part of Peace River?
or be usurped by the mercantiles in later cycles is anyone's guess. As might be suspected, the three major leagues of the Confederated Northern City-States are wildly diverse and deserving of further scrutiny, and there is no better place to start than with the unofficial leaders of the CNCS, the Northern Lights Confederacy.
Yep.
The NLC is the largest northern power bloc, with the Sorrento branch of revisionism.
Decided to check the phone because I thought I read the notification wrong. Yeah, no, I had the day off. Had to take care of something earlier today, and now we have an RPG later on tonight. So some of my friends, they're running a custom-made D&D RPG tonight, so I'll be joining it with them. It'll be super fun. So yeah, I had some time left, so I'm like, you know what? I haven't done reactions in a while. I really want to do some more reactions to some great videos. So yeah, here we are.
Being born alongside it during the Reconstruction era, the time when the civil wars after the departure of Earth ended and the Terra Novans focused on rebuilding. This new sect of revisionism at the time helped to unify the city-states of what would become the Northern Lights Confederacy, which eventually grew to encompass 14 city-states.
Gosh dang.
But this process of revisionism-fueled expansion was never entirely peaceful, and the NLC, being the devout revisionists they are, have a tendency towards fanaticism. This was proven quite visibly between the cycles of TN 1530 to 1537, when the NLC embarked upon a great crusade to bring its neighboring city-states into the light of revisionism. At first, the new NLC armies went into these cities under the guise of protecting their revisionist followers, and if it was deemed necessary for that goal, those cities would become fully annexed by the Norlighters. The Great Crusade only ended with the sacking of Yaromir around TN 1537, where 55 revisionists were executed by the city-state government of Yaromir, which subsequently led to the razing of the city-state by the NLC. This single act cost over 3,500 lives, and the complete destruction of the city-state. In the wake of such a slaughter, the NLC ended the crusade and their expansionist philosophies were eventually curtailed. Though the Norlighters never fully shook their reputation for fanaticism, even by the modern Terra Novan cycles of the 1900s. Though to be fair, this reputation was maintained prominently during St. Vincent's War in TN 1723, where Norlight forces were often seen as the most destructive, with their more extreme believers often calling for various holy wars. In the post-war period leading up to the 1950s, religious fundamentalism grew and tolerance of other beliefs lessened. These notions only grew more so with the assassination of Thor Hutchinson. But the NLC is not just a haven for religious zealots. They also have strong traditions and preferences for peace and democracy.
Ancient weeb knowledge. Star Blazers was the title for space battleship Yamato when it was imported to the West. Maybe Gillisan was making a reference here? Oh, maybe. I never really watched Star Blazers or Space Battleship Yamato, but I know the art when I see it because the artist always makes like all the characters from like every series they ever draw. Like they have the same character design archetypes for every single series. It's hilarious.
Their government, for instance, is a multi-party representative democracy led by a president and an executive council known as the Chamber of Valeria.
Mm.
Opposite from the religious foundations of the NLCs, the corporate-run United Mercantile Federation, the second largest but most heavily industrialized league in all of Terra Nova. In fact, their industrial output is so large that it is said over half of all products within the Confederated Northern City-States have been made in UMF factories.
Oh, interesting.
The
Okay.
Federation's origins can be traced back to another former power,
So
the Lioness League, which
these-
formed
these
in the
guys are
cycle
like,
of TN 1528, which included the future UMF capital city of Lioness,
they're like the
Rapid
Lyran
City,
Commonwealth.
Marathon, and Canterbury. But not long after its inception in the cycle of TN 1550, the League was on the verge of collapse due to high-level corruption and extreme financial incompetence.
Oof.
To address the resulting and immense financial deficit, the Lioness League government ceased funding their National Apprentice Program, a key element in how their labor market created jobs. This had proven to be the straw that broke the camel's back. The citizenry were now faced with the rising taxes and little employment, so they began taking to the streets in what came to be the apprenticeship riots.
Huh.
The government, in response, used their military to beat down the people in what was becoming a rapidly devolving situation. But before things could descend into complete chaos, the corporations of the Lioness League banded together and used their security forces to enact a coup d'etat against the government and begin to set the foundation for the newly formed United Mercantile Federation.
Oh, okay.
However, just because the old regime was finally ousted did not mean the financial woes they had created had disappeared.
Still not
Fortunately,
stonks. Oh
the
no.
new leaders of the
The
UMF
stonks,
had
they're
an
not
easy
there.
solution: rapid and aggressive expansion towards the other city-states. So between the 16th and 17th centuries, that's exactly what the UMF did. When aggressive diplomacy failed, military force was used to bring the defined city-states into the Federation, which inevitably brought them into conflict with the Northern Lights Confederacy and the Western Frontier Protectorate. In fact, the UMF's policy of aggressive expansion was what caused the other two leagues to form NATO, the Northern Allied
NATO.
Defense Organization, to effectively combat the
Okay.
mercantiles.
Alright. Okay.
But even still, they could not beat the UMF. And their era of expansion only ended when UMF leadership realized that continued war would only lead to long-term financial losses.
You're telling me
But what made
out
the
of
UMF's era of expansion so
out of
successful
nowhere with the chair?
was not their military, but their negotiated terms in having a city-state join them. A potential candidate was allowed to keep their autonomy in administering their city's government, and would, on occasion, even receive aid from the UMF to fund their social systems. In return, a city-state would have to have their production output join that of the Federation, and its people had to buy from the markets of the greater UMF. This policy is why city-states with governments that would typically be at odds with the UMF's corporate-run business-first mentality end up as a part of the Federation, namely city-states like the religious matriarchy of Swanscombe, the monarchy of Ashington, and the pseudo-communist state of Zagreb being prominent members. In terms of the
Zagreb, I've
actual
never heard of
political
them.
structure of the United Mercantile Federation, they are a democracy in the basic sense. But the UMF utilizes a very different approach that's true to their business-focused ways. Citizens invest in the Federation by buying electoral vouchers, with their voting power tied directly to how many vouchers they have.
Oh my
These
god.
vouchers cost 1,000 credits each and expire after 5
Let's
years.
just skip the middleman.
Both
We'll just go right to
individuals and
paying for
legal entities
votes.
can buy these vouchers and even trade them among others. This
Oh,
voucher
man.
system is important to the funding of the Federation, as tariffs and taxation are considered to be outright unconstitutional. The purchase of electoral vouchers, along with lottery tickets, help to fuel the machine
Amazing.
of the UMF government. This policy of zero taxation encourages investment, and is, unsurprisingly, extremely popular with the citizenry, even helping to nurture a sense of patriotism among the people of the United Mercantiles.
Really?
But opposite from the religious Norlighters and the business-focused mercantiles, lies the last major league of the North, the Western Frontier Protectorate. Just regular, heavily armed folk living off the land. The WFP is the smallest of the three northern leagues, and their territory is primarily the Great Western Plain, which is an expansive area that is rich in the fertile soil needed for farming grain and growing johar crops. Unfortunately, what makes the Great Western Plain ideal for agriculture also makes them vulnerable to attack from bandits in other city-states due to the
Oh.
vast and open nature of the land.
Yeah.
Because of this greater need for defense,
Just say
the
praise me
people of the
behind me
Western
there. What the-
frontier have made the military a social institution in itself. It is even said that Protectorate society is based upon the army. This is visibly evident in the heavily militarized designs of their fortified city-states to ward off bandits and other aggressors.
Yeah, having an RPG set in like this area in the Western Protectorate is probably a good idea. I can think of a lot of fun ways to create sessions and stuff for this region here. All right. What else we got here? What is this? All Western Frontier Protectorate city-states names begin with fort. That should say a lot. Yeah. Getting a lot of that. This very much feels like the Wild West essentially with mechs. Or with Mecha, I should say. Mechs are technically the abbreviation for battle mechs. Yeah, if you ever see the term mech and wonder why the M is capitalized, that's why. The term mech is actually a battletech. It's an official battletech term. Otherwise, it's just mecha.
This importance on the army is only more solidified with the two classes of people in the WFP, citizens and residents. Citizens are those who have served in the military, be it in the WFP, the Greater CNCS, or another allied league for 5 cycles, 10 cycles, and 20 cycles respectively.
Oh, wow.
In return, Protectorate citizens are given voting rights when elections are run for the military councils that lead the individual city-states, whereas residents have no voting rights and no voice in elections. Of course, when talking about the people of the Western
Isn't that
Frontier
basically like
Protectorate,
Starship
there is
Troopers?
one more difference that needs to be accounted for.
Citizens versus
The
non-citizens?
clans. In
The
the early
clans?
days
Wait,
of
hold
Terra
on.
Nova, the
Hold on.
ranching
What do you mean
families
the
of the Great
clans?
Western Plain would
I
create
know that
alliances
term.
through blood relations and marriage for the survival of all involved. Over time, these alliances grew into the modern Western clans, which can consist of several
okay.
family groups. The largest of these
Very different from how it's handled in BattleTech. So these are basically like, I guess, historical, historical nobility in this environment that hold various or the power, maybe the power brokers in some ways. Let's find out.
These clans, namely the Zukos and the Maderas, can have over 1,000 members, whereas the smaller clans only a small handful, but most tend to have up to 200 members. All clans are typically led by the oldest, though on occasion a younger person is given the role of leader. But besides size, history, or resources, there are 2 major distinctions that often define a clan. The first being whether they are allied with the Zukites, those who believe most problems can be solved with the military led by the Zuko clan, and the Maderans, headed by the Maderas clan, who often lean towards diplomatic solutions.
Oh, I just missed a thing there. Let's see what it said.
And the Maderans, headed by the Maderas clan, who
Hawk and Dove philosophies are Hawk and Dove philosophies are another way to put it. Hawks are Zeeks, Doves are Maderans. Oh, Hawks and Doves. Oh, okay, that's it. I thought I said Dove. It's Dove. Yeah, I was gonna say this. Oh gosh, why am I thinking of Romeo and Juliet now? That's probably what I should not be thinking, but yeah, two big opposing families. We're gonna have some star-crossed lovers between these two. Yeah, one is definitely more of getting things done by force. The other one sounds like more let diplomacy decide. So that's what it sounds like it's going towards.
often lean towards diplomatic solutions.
Hey, there you go.
The second distinction is more rooted in history, and a clan can be either defined as a first or true clan, and the others who are called new clans.
Hmm.
As one could guess, first clans were those who were founded before the creation of the Western Frontier Protectorate. In part because of this, first clans are more prominent in status. New clans, on the other hand, are not. They were the ones who immigrated to the Western Plain after the formation of the Protectorate. While typically new clans don't have the same venerated status as the true clans, there have been times when a new clan can rise in prestige through enough effort.
Hmm.
Regardless of the clan type though, most if not all members are proud people, often quick to glorify and honor their heritage while downplaying disgraces. Honor and reputation are also key components of Western society, and often a person's honor is tied to that of the clan they're affiliated with. As such, individual dishonor can have wide-lasting repercussions for the entire clan. Perhaps because of this, when a member has been found guilty of a crime, the clan itself can be torn between protecting their own and adhering to the law, regardless of the official stance adopted by all clans that the Protectorate comes first. For this reason, the Protectorate army tends to err on the side of caution by ensuring that no single clan has a heavy presence in any single military unit.
Hmm. Yeah. I think I'm definitely gonna have my the setting for the sessions I'll run for the heavy gear RPG definitely be set in the Western Protectorate. This just sounds like a real fun. This just sounds like a real fun environment with all the little bits and pieces of history and stuff and how things are done. Sounds like it'd be real fun for like RPG play. Hawk and Dove are long used IRL for those who want war and peace, respectively. Yeah, that makes sense. Mahusha, it's good to see you, dude. Hope you're doing well, man.
As one can begin to see, the world of Northern Terra
Funny enough,
Nova
it's the
is
first time
rich
I've
in
actually heard
culture
that
and
term being
history,
used for that.
and not everything could be covered here, such as greater details about revisionism in its Sorrento branch, particularly in the wake of Thor Hutchinson's death, the NLC's entrenched criminal element, Judas Syndrome, or even the Badland Protectorates under CNCS Dominion. Then there's the rest of Terra Nova with the Allied Southern Territories, Peace River, the Black Talon, and the new coalition in
Oh, I know
Port
about the Black
Arthur.
Talons.
And even beyond Terra Nova, there's Earth and the Colonial Expeditionary Forces, the Grells, the planets of Caprice, Utopia, and Eden, among
Yep.
many other known planets formerly colonized by Earth.
Yeah, there's... Oh, let's go back here.
Utopia, and Eden, among many other known planets.
Yeah, there's so much history of development for all these planets in the Heavy Gear universe. It's not just Terra Nova, but Terra Nova is like the main show, right? That's us down here. This is where the main action happens. But there's a lot of stuff also happening in the system here, including Earth. There's a lot of stuff going on Earth, and when Earth sends their stuff, you know, like I said, the Earth was trying to colonize all this stuff, and then something bad happened, and then they bailed and left these people their devices. Come to find out, thousands of years later, they're surviving the best they can, and in some ways thriving in their new environments while warring with each other. And Earth's like, hey, they're still there. It's not all ruined. That's great news. So we're just gonna send forces over there and take everything that's ours, and everyone else that is in all these other places. Like, the fuck you are? Where have you been the past thousands of years? This is ours now. So yeah, now they have that whole conflict. Although it's kind of weird because I think the Earth forces, they're the only forces, I think up until recently, I think they started developing tech for it, but they have like hover tanks. Whereas, in Terra Nova, they got gears, they have normal tread tanks, but they also have like sand crawler style carriers, like basically giant aircraft carrier looking things, but they move all across the dunes, kind of wild looking. And then you have all these admittedly pretty cool looking hover tanks. Like, no one else has hover tanks, but that's all they have. They don't have the cool gear stuff. So it's like, ah, man, these guys aren't as fun. But I think they're actually starting to develop gear tech because, yeah, having an all-terrain vehicle besides tanks can help out in other ways where tanks tend to fail.
planets formerly colonized by Earth. Suffice it to say, the known universe is vast, and we have only yet begun to scratch at its surface.
Man, that was cool. And once again, everything you see here in the video, well, with the exception of like that artwork there, but like the environments, those gears in the background, this is all created by teams that work for Max Lore channel. It's so impressive. Like, just the sheer production value of being able to show all this stuff and be able to tell all this history. It's so cool. There really needs, like, more people really need to check out Max Lore's channel. I feel like his channel gets slept on compared to, like, other heavy hitters, you know, like, like the Black Pants Legion and Tech Talks Battletech, you know. A lot of people love watching their stuff. You guys would love this stuff too. Check it out as well. Max Lore. Super cool. Alright. Oh, they also have a history of Terra Nova. I'll definitely have to watch that one too in the near future. Alright, well, I want to thank you all for checking this out with me. I definitely learned a lot about the North that helped me remember a number of things I remember reading years ago and just kind of forgot about. And looking forward to learning more of Heavy Gears. We get a chance to dive more into that franchise and finally play the tabletop version of it. So, hope to see you here next time on the dance floor. This is Soul Bag Greg, signing off.